Wife of 11 years, 2 kids aged 11 and 9. She had an affair that lasted 8 months. I've known about it for the last 3. Looking for additional advice and sharing my experience, as I found a lot of help reading this subreddit. To summarize, married for 11 years with 2 kids, ages 11 and 9. My wife cheated on me for 8 months, and I found out during the last 3. I didn't confront her until I had gathered all the evidence, including a video, and had a separation agreement prepared by a reputable lawyer. This was about 9 months ago, what I would call D-Day. I waited for her to come home from her affair partner. She had no idea I knew anything. The moment she saw me sitting at the table, she became visibly nervous. I asked her to sit down because we needed to talk. At that point, I was emotionally drained and didn't care anymore. I had decided on divorce the day I discovered the affair. She sat down. She looked panicked. Wife, you're scaring me. What's going on? Me. I'm not here to argue about your infidelity. I know everything. I'm here to finalize our separation and divorce. I placed my wedding ring on top of the folder containing the separation agreement and slid it across the table to her. She immediately started crying, apologizing, and begging. All the usual things. We got nowhere. I just threw her excuses back at her. I love you. Me. You hurt me more than anyone ever has and slept with other men because you love me so much. After a few hours of this, I told her to go to a hotel and that we'd continue the conversation the next day. I also warned her that if she didn't sign the separation agreement, I would inform everyone about what she had been doing. Yes, she signed under pressure, but at the time, I just wanted it done. She signed, left, and I received messages and calls from her all night. I responded occasionally with short replies, mostly along the lines of, I won't read this or talk to you until tomorrow afternoon. By the next day, the reality of the situation seemed to hit her. She begged for another chance, therapy, anything. She promised to do whatever it took. I told her I'd file for divorce on Monday, that she had 90 days to convince me it was a mistake. I don't know why I offered this. I'd already decided to end things, but gave in. The next day, I created a list of conditions she had to meet. I didn't show it to her at first, only told her it existed. I said that unless she followed the list, we would only interact as co-parents, and divorce would be inevitable. I also told her that perfect compliance wouldn't guarantee reconciliation, since my trust in her was non-existent, and I didn't love her anymore. I explained that the only reason I was even considering trying was for the kids. The list included no more lies. She had to document everything about the affair, how it started, what she thought justified her actions, and how she could do this to me and her own kids. Any omission or sugarcoating would end reconciliation efforts immediately. Full access to all her social media, phone, computer, salary, and bank accounts. Reporting her whereabouts and activities at all times. Intensive therapy 2 to 3 times a week to help her understand her choices. She agreed to everything, completed the tasks, and gave me access. Then I told her about steps 5, 6, and 7 only after she completed each prior step. She had to meet the affair partner's wife, confess everything, hand over all evidence, and offer to testify in court if needed. She initially refused, saying she couldn't do that to him. I pointed out she had already chosen his feelings over her family. She didn't comply. Reconciliation was off table, and I would inform the other wife myself. Eventually, she agreed. The meeting was intense. The other wife lunged at her. My wife didn't fight back, and I didn't intervene. Afterward, in the car, I revealed that her affair partner was seeing another woman in addition to her, and showed her the private investigator's evidence. I'm ashamed to admit I found some satisfaction in watching her realize she was just another fling to him. She had to explain to our kids what she did and what it meant for our family. For 3 months, I would pretend to have an affair, lie to her face, sneak around, and develop a deep emotional connection with another woman. I wanted her to understand the humiliation and pain she expected me to forgive. I also needed her to see the risk of me falling for someone else and leaving her for good. 7 weeks, I played the role. I installed Tinder and made sure she saw it occasionally. I pretended to text secretively, stayed out late, and took weekend trips. In reality, I wasn't seeing anyone. I stayed in hotels, cabins, or Airbnbs, drinking and crying most of the time. She spiraled into panic while I felt terrible about it. I hated what I was doing and barely managed to keep it up, even though it was all fake. What crushed me most was realizing how easy it had been for her to do the real thing. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore and confessed after 7 weeks. She was devastated, but so was I. Now, we're in therapy. She's making progress, but I'm struggling. Some days are better than others. I keep the divorce papers ready, but haven't filed them yet. Well, I'm not sure why. We aren't close or intimate, but we've stopped fighting, so I suppose that's progress. She's incredibly remorseful, and I know the road ahead is long. The hardest part for me is that I can't see her positively anymore. I forgave many things, but can't move past what she did. I regret not ending it on day 1. But now that we're here, I wonder if there's any way to overcome how I see her. I told her I wasn't actually seeing anyone after just 7 weeks. Couldn't keep up the act. It felt awful. Edit 2. Thanks for all the helpful insights. I'll take these perspectives and try to make progress. I'll post an update in a few weeks if anything changes. Update. My wife and I stayed up all night after I showed her my previous post. Here's an update, along with some thoughts and reflections. We know that our chances of success are slim, and that it will likely take years years to get through the worst of it. But this morning, we both agreed that we're committed to trying. She was absolutely devastated by some of the things I said and many of the comments. Yet we managed to have a real conversation in the end, even though we both struggle to do so sometimes. For everyone who spoke to me in absolutes, being in the middle of something like this is entirely different from observing it from the outside. Nothing is clear or simple. The emotions are overwhelming, and even deciding to get out of bed in the morning to face another day feels almost impossible. If I had to explain how difficult it is to think clearly and make good choices, I describe it like this. Imagine you're living your life at the top of a mountain. You can see the horizon in every direction, and everything is clear. You know who you are, what you want, and where you're headed. Now imagine being ripped from that mountaintop and thrown into a dark, sealed coffin, spinning so fast your blood rushes to your legs. You're on the verge of passing out, barely able to think, nauseated, dizzy, and ready to vomit. That's the closest I can come to describing the trauma my brain has experienced. Of course, I've made bad decisions in this state. I think anyone would. Those who said we're hurting our kids, we don't believe that's the case. We've talked to them openly, and they've expressed gratitude that we've involved them and kept them informed of our efforts. As my younger child, but it's my family too. They have more faith in us than we have in ourselves and appreciate being asked for their advice and opinions. We've been careful to make it clear they don't need to take sides and have repeatedly reassured them that none of this is their fault or responsibility. They've told us they like being involved and helping us individually and as a family. They offer words of encouragement and extra hugs when they sense we need them. They understand that fixing this might not be possible, but said they'd be disappointed if we gave up without trying. The first months were very stressful, but once things calmed down, they expressed how grateful they were to be included. Some of their friends are going through similar family issues and feel completely in the dark, which has made our kids appreciate the transparency. As for those who called me psychotic and questioned how I could be so harsh while offering reconciliation, to be clear, on D-Day, I had no intention of offering any second chances. I was determined to end things as quickly as possible. I was still set on that course when she came back the next day, begging for another chance and saying she'd do anything. At that moment, I couldn't bring myself to leave her. I felt weak and ashamed of myself. I was angry and wanted her to suffer, but deep down I still loved her, even if I couldn't admit it or end things completely. So I made the list of demands, never expecting her to agree to the more difficult ones. I didn't think she'd confess to the affair partner's wife, tell our children and families, or stand by me during my stage revenge affair. The truth is, I wanted her to give up. I wanted her to hurt. I thought seeing her suffer would make me feel better, but it didn't. The more she did everything I asked, the harder it became to deny that she was genuinely remorseful and committed to fixing things. She's done everything possible to reconcile, but I haven't. I've been searching for a reason to walk away or for her to give up. I've been incredibly cruel, lashing out in anger, and I'm a frightening person when I do. She's just taken it. No excuses, no justifications. She says she's never been afraid of me, but I'm not sure I believe that. For those who asked why she did it, we've come to understand that she felt stagnant and trapped. Our life was safe and comfortable, but after her best friend passed away, she was vulnerable to someone who said all the right things. She feels deceived now and struggles to reconcile her actions with the person she thought she was. We've learned that her affair partner had a history of this behavior, cheating on his wife with multiple women simultaneously and fathering 2 illegitimate children. As for me, I hadn't fully committed to reconciliation. I convinced myself that making her suffer would make me feel better and that I'd be fine walking away if I found a strong enough reason. I was wrong. I've realized I've been holding back, afraid to let her close enough to hurt me again. It's prevented us from making real progress. She's been fully committed while I've been looking for excuses to distance myself. Many people asked if I'm as good at giving love as I am at punishing, and the answer is no, but I'm working on it now. I've forgiven her, kept her at arm's length, waiting for a reason to leave. I'm changing that and committing to a genuine effort. If we fail, we fail, but I'll give it my best shot. As for my wife, from the day after D-Day, she understood I was serious. There was nowhere to hide, no forgiveness or easy escape. She accepted her chances of saving our family were slim, but was determined to try. It's clear now that she didn't love her affair partner. She loved the thrill and the fantasy. She's told me she's grateful for my tough approach, which pulled her out of the affair fog and forced her to focus on what truly matters. She's punishing herself more harshly than I ever could. I've discovered she's been self-harming since D-Day. We're now focused on helping her forgive herself because we can't heal unless that happens. Ironically, her self-punishment has suppressed many of the qualities I fell in love with: her humor, confidence, and patience. It's hard to reconnect with her when those things are missing, but we're making progress. We slept in the same bed for the first time since D-Day, and it felt good to be beside her again. I still love her, and I hate myself a little for it, but I think of my kids, and it gives me the strength to keep going. We're working on building something new as the old relationship is gone. Thank you again to everyone who offered insight and advice. Update 2. This will be my last activity on this account. It has served its purpose, and I'm incredibly grateful for everyone's help. At times, it's been overwhelming, but I'm okay, or rather, we're okay. Since deciding to fully commit to reconciliation, things have improved significantly. We've even started reconnecting in ways we hadn't for a long time. My wife, or the version of her I fell in love with, is beginning to re-emerge more and more. We've been doing a lot of therapy, working hard on improving our communication, and have even even started being intimate regularly. It's still early days, and the odds may not be in our favor, but we're making surprisingly good progress. I'm doing my best to show her how much I appreciate her every day. She's been doing the same for me. We both still have moments of overwhelming emotional pain, but overall, there are more good moments than bad ones now. I think we'll be okay. The kids are doing well, and I'm feeling hopeful about the future. Thank you, kind strangers on the internet, supporting me in a time of need.
Issues with insecurity and attachment often lead people to make reckless choices. You'll learn this the hard way. Next time, it might be you. When a snake bites you and you choose to pick it up again, fault no longer lies with the snake.
Excellent. Absolutely excellent. I believe you're on the right path. Two things to always keep in mind. Never stop fostering emotional intimacy through open communication, and recognize the repetitive patterns that can be avoided in any relationship. Steer clear of them when they inevitably arise. Always strive to keep your relationship fresh, engaging, and full of life. There's more to life just kids and career worries. Jobs are simply a means to pay the bills and save enough for a comfortable retirement. And keeping up with the neighbors should never be a priority.